Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmerced.com. I want to talk real quickly about tariffs and how tariffs generally just are a bad idea. Okay, if you're not familiar with sort of the Great Depression, you talk to 10 different economists, you'll get 10 different answers on why the Great Depression happened and how we got out of it. So, bottom line is, anything I say, this is my best understanding of all the papers I've read and history books I've read, etc. Okay, and you'll find economists that basically state this narrative and economists that don't, and it's economics. People will find data that confirms what they want to believe. But the basic gist was World War I happens, you have reconstruction of countries that were rebuilding after World War I. This causes this creates a huge amount of issuing of foreign bonds. Corporations decide to issue stock to buy these foreign bonds. This creates a bubble in the market along with easing credit during the time and other factors. The bubble pops, market crashes in 1929. Okay, now president at the time was Herbert Hoover. Now things that Herbert Hoover does in order to try to help the economy, he raises taxes. I mean, under Herbert Hoover, you raise taxes up to 60%, so you went from 20s to the 60s. You had tariffs, the Smoot-Hawley tariff, which affected GDP quite a bit. There's actually a good episode of Econ Talk where they talk about how I think it was like a 2% change in GDP due to the Smoot-Hawley tariff, but the thing is it was concentrated in like 10 states. So when you realize that the effect of that GDP change was in a few small places, you realize how profound that effect was. And this caused a Great Depression. This is kind of what we have now. I mean, you had the market crash in 2008, and now you have a Smoot-Hawley-esque type policy with the tariffs that Trump's imposing. But I mean, it's usually when people get concerned about tariffs, they're concerned about, oh, how does it affect U.S. consumers or the domestic consumers because they're paying more because you're taxing stuff. People get concerned about the effect on international trade, being like, well, we put tariffs on their stuff, so now they're going to put tariffs on our stuff, and people get worried about the trade wars. But there's other things that get affected, such as the flows of capital get affected, and that has all sorts of really hard to imagine effects on the economy, whether it's just changing the way people invest their funds. So, for example, if you make it harder to do business in the U.S., so for example, if you're a company that just doesn't have tariffs on foreign goods, you're a better place to park your business. So if I want to build a factory somewhere, I want to build a factory not just where I have the cheapest labor, but also where can I acquire and source my inputs the cheapest. So a place with less tariffs, less whatnot, is going to be a better place for me to do business. So the more tariffs you put on there, the less good appetizing for sort of global investors to be like, okay, I'm going to go invest in stuff there because of those additional costs. And then also on top of the time, let's say you do get the positive effect. Let's say you do, okay, you put the tax on steel, and people start buying more steel from the U.S., from foreign markets. Well, then the result is that demand for American steel in foreign markets creates more demand for the U.S. dollar, which pushes the dollar's value up, which is good initially for U.S. consumers who will find that they have more purchasing power. But at the same time, it'll also hurt other U.S. exporters and those same steel exporters that we mentioned before until it pretty much neutralizes. Okay? And then you'll just end up cycling back because basically U.S. consumers will begin buying a lot of stuff from other places. That'll push up the value of their currency. It just keeps going back and forth, assuming no central bank intervention or intervention of other kinds. But you just end up distorting markets. You end up distorting how they work out, how people invest, and that can have ramifications that are hard to see and people will never realize because you don't realize who just changed how they're going to invest their capital because of this change. What business ended up not being somewhere because of these changes. So tariffs are just a bad idea. Okay, it's literally cutting off your nose to spite your face. Now people will say, okay, well, sometimes you do that for the purpose of negotiation. So the idea is that, yes, you hurt yourself, but if you hurt the other person more, you might be able to make them more likely to negotiate. And there definitely can be something be said for that. But from an economics point of view, that opportunity cost that is building up every day that that's in place. So unless the result of the negotiation results in a gain bigger than what you've sacrificed in the meantime, which I would find unlikely, you're hurting the global economy overall. So that's my opinion. I'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a great day and enjoy.